How's it going, YouTube? Peshcats here, and today we're looking at a sample deck list for Lewd-Ru Darkness 2nd. Now, notice I said sample. This deck is just a draft deck list that I threw together. It's designed to be very simple and straightforward, so it doesn't have a lot of tech cards. Furthermore, I don't actually own a Lewd-Ru deck, so this deck is not tested, and I don't know how well it would actually play, but I made the deck list based on first impressions. I based it on what I would play if I was going to play a Lewd-Ru deck myself. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this Lewd-Ru deck for Yami, Mikan, and Mia, aka the Transformation Housework deck. Also, quick note before I begin, I will be using the term trans house for short many times throughout the video, so yeah, just keep that in mind. Now then, onto the deck list, starting with the level zeros. I run 15 level zeros. First off, 4 copies of the Mikan Assist. It gives 500 power to characters in front, and when you play it, you may mill the top 3 cards of your deck. Be careful not to mill too many important cards, though, because this deck has 0 salvage, so whatever you mill, you're not going to see those cards again until you refresh. But that's okay, because this deck doesn't care about salvaging, because this Mikan also has that lovely Hatsukase anti-salvage ability of giving -3 soul to your opponent's entire board if they salvage during the attack phase. So, if this deck doesn't get to salvage, neither do you. Next up, running 4 copies of this 0-0 Mia. Now, some of my friends didn't like this choice, but I would be willing to try this out myself. So, she's a 0-0-1K. When she's reversed in battle, I can pay 1 and clock myself 1 to look at the top 2 cards in my deck, choose one of those cards, and add it to my hand, and then I send the other card to the waiting room. So you can use her to attack on like turn 1, and then she replaces herself with one of the top 2 cards of your deck, so you don't end up minusing at all, and she's accelerating you faster to level 1. She can also grab climaxes or events, which might come in handy, and you also do not have to show your opponent what card you add to your hand, because the Mia doesn't specify that you have to have like a character, or you have to have transformation or housework character. It just says a card, so you just literally just put the card in your hand, discard the other one. Your opponent has no idea what you just added to your hand. Next up on the level zeros is three copies of the Yami Searchers from the TD. She has a standard searcher ability. On play, pay 1, discard 1, and search your deck for an alien, transformation, or housework character. So basically, it searches for every character in this deck. In addition to that, when she comes into play, she gets 1500 power until the end of the turn, so she doubles as a decent beat stick with 3000 power. Finally, to round out the level zeros, I chose 4 brainstorms, 3 of the Mikan Searcher brainstorm, and 1 Mikan Power brainstorm from the TD. Now, I just want to get this out there real quick. I think that this green brainstorm is pretty insane. She's like an Azusa Akatsuki on her first effect. When she comes into play, you discard 1, choose a trans house character from your clock, add it to hand, and then you put the top card of your deck into your clock. Obviously, this sucks if you only have like one or two cards in clock, or it's even worse if you have no cards in clock. But hey, you get a free discard outlet, no stock costs, get rid of all those extra climaxes. And on top of that, she has an actual brainstorm of pay 1, rest 2, and for each climax you hit, you get to search your deck for a trans house. And this is one of my favorite cards in this set, hands down. But I can't leave the Power Brainstorm in the shadows. This one-of spammable Brainstorm can help you get over bigger characters, which is important for synergizing with your 1-0 Climax combo Mikan, because it requires you to reverse your opponent's character. And of course, being a spammable Brainstorm, you can use this to get through your deck if you get Climax flooded. So definitely not a card to take for granted, and I think the one-of would work just fine. Next up, moving on to the level 1s, I'm running 14. First, we have the all-important 1-0 Mikan Climax combo. She has a 4500 base, but if your entire field is Trans House, here's a hint, it will be, then she gets a 1k buff. She also has a combo with the Taiyaki Keyholder Climax, where if she reverses the opposing character in battle, you get to search your deck for 1 Trans House. This card is very easily compared to Shimakaze. They both have a Climax combo on reverse search with no stock cost. However, there's another very good card in the set that synergizes extremely well with this Mikan, which Shimakaze does not have. So, here we have this 1-1 Yami, which this deck is running 2 of. Her first effect is trans house characters in front of her gain 500 power and also get Hand Encore. So, that's pretty good. And she also has a Climax combo with, Taiyaki Keyholder. Wait, where have I heard that before? Oh, right. it's the gold bar. So when you play either this yellow version or the gold bar version of the Taiyaki keyholder, you get to give any character a 2k buff. So obviously this works extremely well with your Mikan combo. Same climax? Check. Bonus power to make it easier to reverse your opponent? Check. Hand encore so you can trigger a gold bar and use the combo again next turn? Check. The synergy is real. Next up on our ones list are some of the less combo-y cards. So this Mikan level 1 has the Taige effect, or the Ellie effect. I just prefer calling it Taige. She gets 500 power for every other trans house character on the stage, putting her at a max of 6,500 with a full board before supports. So great power for a costless level 1. And next is this 1/1 Mia. She has a 6k base, but if you have 3 or more other trans house on the field, she gets plus 1500 and cannot be killed by suiciders. So 7500 power, anti-suicider, that's pretty good. And while we're at it, let's just give her another 500 power and hand encore too, as if the 7500 and anti-suicider wasn't already bad enough. Lastly, for the level 1s, we have the 1/0 Mia counter. She has a 1k base backup, but if you have any trans house character on your stage, and if you're playing this deck, you probably will, then this becomes a 2k backup instead. So, costless 2k backup, pretty good. Next up, moving on to the level 2s, I'm running 4 of those, and first on the list is the Mia Assist. So she has a level support ability, giving 500 times level to characters in front of her. Honestly, the level support isn't as relevant in this deck since it doesn't run a lot of level 2s, and it also does not run any early drop level 3s. But her second effect is pretty relevant if you happen to have a lot of extra stock lying around. By paying 2 stock and resting 2 characters, you can look at the top 2 cards of your deck, add 1 to your hand, and discard the other one. Note that just like the 0/0 Mia, this can grab climaxes or events, and you also do not have to show your opponent the card that you add to your hand. This 2/1 Mikan is an anti-level 3. I chose to run just 1 copy as a tech. With a 7k base, she's pretty weak on her own, but she gets a 1k buff every time another trans house character attacks, so this can bring her up to 9k. When she attacks, if her opponent is level 3 or higher, she gets a 3k buff until the end of the opponent's turn, which puts her at a 12k offense and 10k defense. So pretty good, and it's not a very hard power boost to get either if your opponent's playing early drops. And finally, to round out the level 2s, I'm running a single copy of the 2/1 vanilla counter. Nothing special to see here. And now on to the fun part, the level 3s of the deck, of which I'm running 9. I'm going to start with the 3/2 Mikan since it's the simplest of the level 3s. She gets 500 power for every other trans house on your stage, and on play she can heal 1 damage. Simple healer, pretty big power on a full board, very simple card. Next up is the 1 of Mia. During your turn only, she gets 1000 power for every other trans house character you have on stage, bringing her up from her base 9500 to a maximum of 13.5, which can allow her to get over a lot of cards. On play, you can check the top X cards of your deck, where X equals the number of trans house characters on your stage, including yourself. Pick one of those cards, add it to your hand, and discard the rest. Again, just like the 0/0 and 2/1 Mias, you can pick any card, it can be a climax, event, character, whatever, and you do not have to show it to your opponent. This is very good for fishing for a win climax for the 3/2 Yami climax combo, or just more copies of the 3/2 Yami, which we will get to now. So, here we have the best card in the deck, the 3/2 Konjiki no Yami. This is the finisher of the deck with a very strong set of abilities. At 8/5 base, this card doesn't look too impressive at first glance, but if your entire board is trans house, and do I even need to say it at this point? It's gonna be. Then she gets a 1500 buff and cannot be targeted by your opponent's effects. So this means that your opponent cannot use money counters, compass, horror movie counter, wind trigger, nothing. They cannot target this card. So very good for finishing out the game. And if your opponent happens to be using a deck that runs those cards, well, those cards are useless now. So yeah. On play, she draws draws up to 2 cards and discards 1 card. This is very relevant as you will want to grab more copies of this Yami as well as her wind climax for the climax combo. Now, what is this climax combo? When she attacks, if you have the climax combo in play, she gets cancel burn 1 until the end of the turn, and another character also gets cancel burn 1 until the end of the turn. This is literally Yamato Kai from Kantai Collection, but it's on a climax combo instead of costing 2 stock. If you get 3 copies of the Yami onto the stage and you use the climax combo, that's 5 cancel burns in 1 turn. So either your opponent is going to be eating 3 to the face 3 times, or they're going to be taking a lot of pings. This card is a very potent finisher, and getting many copies of this in the main game into your hand should be your priority. And finally, for the level 3s, we're running 2 copies of the Darkness counter. This is a 3/3 event with a money counter ability, so basically you get to tell your opponent's money counters to go screw themselves, and then you get to play your own money counter. So target your opponent's battling character. That character no longer deals damage for the rest of the turn, and you get to give a character 2k power. So it's like an anti-damage, and it's like an anti-clock shot as well. Giving that extra 2k power to your characters will prevent them from being reversed, or hopefully prevent them from being reversed. So like they're still going to die to like Devil Homura, but weaker clock shooters like Yuki from Sword Art Online, for example, are going to have a hard time clock shooting you if you can get yourself to like 12k. And so yeah, this is a great card. I'm running 2 copies of this so that it doesn't clog up the hand too much, but it's a pretty good card to have in the late game, and while you're playing your 3/2 Yamis, you might draw into this, so you can use that on the following turn. For climaxes, I'm running a very simple spread of 4 gold bars and 4 wind triggers. You have the option of running the stock stole version of Taiyaki Keyholder, but personally I prefer having the bonus power from the 1k1 gold bar so that the Mikan can kill cards more easily. So what are the strengths of this deck? Your game plan doesn't require a lot of stock. You play the Yamis, you have the climax, boom, you have your late game. Your 1/0 climax combo is also stockless. Going into your late game, you typically want to have 6 stock, which is not very hard to accomplish. This will allow you to play 3 copies of your 3/2 Yami, and you just go from there. You play your climax, and then boom, you're getting in there. Another strength of this deck is its high search utility. You have 1/0 climax combo Mikan, Mikan Brainstorm, Mia's top 2 check abilities, Yami Searcher. You have many ways to get the cards you need. In addition, during the late game stages, you have cards like your Mia and your Yami's draw 2 drop 1 to fish for climaxes, specifically the wind one, that you're going to need for your late game plan. So this deck has a lot of ways to get the cards that you want. Another strength of this deck is that you can go through your deck extremely fast. So like if you get climax flooded, you can go through your deck, get the climaxes out, and get into a good refresh. Your Mikan assist with the Hatsukazei effect has an on-play mill 3. 0/0 Mia's ability basically takes 3 cards out of your deck. You're clocking 1, and you're looking at the top 2 and adding 1 to your hand. You also have 4 Brainstormers, one of which takes a card out of your deck. When you discard a card, you take a card from your clock, add it to your hand, and then you put the top card of your deck into your clock. You also have Searchers. You have draw 2, drop 1. If you get climax flooded, you have plenty of outs. Also, let's be real. If you're going to be putting those gold bars to good use if you end up getting 2 or 3 copies in your hand at once. Now, weakness of the deck, which we got on earlier, is that it has no salvage. So any card that's in your waiting room is going to be basically out of the game until you go into a refresh. Now, this doesn't matter as much that if you can't salvage, if your opponent also can't salvage. So if you're going against a deck that has climax combo salvage abilities or runs gate climaxes, then those are going to be basically out of the game. Now, if they can salvage outside of the attack phase, obviously they can do that, but yeah. Another weakness of the deck is that its level 0 game is rather weak, but ideally you're going to hit level 1 ASAP so you can get out of your weak level 0 game and go straight into reversing your opponent's field with 1/0 Mikons, search your deck, and get the ball rolling for the rest of the game. This is accomplished with cards like your 0/0 Mia, which clock yourself to look at the top 2 cards of your deck, so you're refilling your hand and accelerating yourself to level 1, where you can get that nice level 1 power spike. Now then, as for the price, this deck is on the expensive side, considering that the 3/2 Yami are, at the time of recording this video, a whopping 3,000 yen a piece, so that's 120 bucks already. 0/0 Mikons with the Hatsukazei effect are currently 1,800 yen a piece as well, so that's another 72. You're also looking at 10 each on the Mikan 3/2s, 7 each on the Yami Searchers unless you bought TDs, in which case you already have them, but unfortunately is 1 copy per TD. And everything else is either like a couple bucks, like the 1/0 Mikons, or it's a common, so it's like 25 cents. I estimate the total cost of the build to be around $250 to $275 USD if you're going by a 100 yen to dollar ratio in UUT prices. And there you have it. This has been the sample deck profile for the Trans House deck. Feel free to shit-talk this deck down in the comment section below. Like I said, this deck isn't tested, so it might actually be a huge ball of crap in actual play. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'd like to take a quick sec to thank all my viewers and supporters for helping me reach another 100 subscriber milestone, as I am now at 1,800 subs. So, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you next time. This has been Peshcats. Bye.